And it's islands. I wouldn't have expected that. Someone in the maps are suggesting nomad, and I think that could have been a good shout. But yeah, islands it is. Um, I'm just going to look at the civs just over like an overall view, and I can because normally you see probably Vikings, Huns, Saracens, Japanese as a kind of preferred for islands, but what we're getting here is Mongols for VNS yellow, and obviously Mongols can be really great because of the uptime. If you're able to lure deer and just eat your boar really fast, then you can perhaps get up to the feudal age a lot quicker than your opponent, and then have one or two galleys, have one or two galley lead, even if you might not quite necessarily sustain such a strong rush with your kind of economic disadvantage from going up so fast. Might be able to get that early advantage and maintain it. So let's look where the Mongols are on the map. They're going to be in pocket position, which isn't the best thing in terms of like taking advantage of that fast uptime. So I'll just kind of like show you the layout of the map. On the right flank or the bottom flank almost for VNS, we've got Japanese ACCM, and in the pocket is the Mongols, as I was saying, VNS yellow in grey. And then other pocket on the other side for VNS, got cool Vikings. The Vikings pocket is really nice, and look at the fish back here. I think that if Cool gets a nice game, able to maybe add some extra fishing ships, he's just going to have such a great game if he's able to protect his fish and then just use the power of Vikings pocket. And then finally on the left or top flank for VNS is VNS Fish or Chocopee Orion as Huns, which is a good civ to have in the flank and on islands. He's in orange, and then for 13th Legion. First of all, let's just see if there's any change in personnel. Dark Devil coming in instead of Melkor, so I'll just come to that one because he's going to be third in the order that I'm going round. We've got Vodka on flank as Japanese, and there's really nice fish in the back here if he wants to do extra like Japanese fishing ships. Although that the kind of Japanese fish boomer in the pocket would be possibly preferable. Emin pocket Huns in purple, and then we've got Dark Devil summing in for Melkor. I don't know what the reasoning for that is because I don't know if Melkor is a water player or not, and whether Dark Devil is a water player and a stronger one. Maybe that's the reasoning, or perhaps it's just kind of personnel rotation in terms of just letting people have a go, or maybe Melkor wasn't able to play all the games. Perhaps somebody from the chat can tell me whether Melkor ever plays Islands or not, I don't know. But Dark Devil pocket Saracens, and then Yannick has flanked Vikings. So I think VNS have got the better of the map generation and the civs, because Vikings pocket is really nice, and I think the fish is looking better for VNS. You can see that Emin's fish is really bad, like surrounding the entire island, it's just terrible. And the corner fish for VNS Cool and potentially for VNS Fish on the left hand side is just looking so much more kind of dense, and there's just a lot more fish there. So that in combination with the Vikings pocket and is what makes me think that VNS have just come out of the kind of random generation of the map just with a tiny advantage, but obviously it's all dependent on what the players choose to do. Pretty much. I'm just going to move it on like 1 minute ahead now, just to, because it is recorded games, we can do that just to get some of the players starting to go up to the feudal age, see the uptimes coming in. You see a few players choosing to do loom last before they go up, so we're probably going to see some uptimes of some players doing it just before a tad before 8 minutes. Which is pretty decent uptimes on islands. Kind of trying to see if anybody had a slightly worse Dark Age than anybody else. Got some players on 23 pop and some players on 25. Um, but that's just down to the number of fishing ships chosen to add primarily. And not every player may have done a loom, so it doesn't seem like anybody had a like catastrophic Dark Age or anything. Although Yannick's villager count kind of looked low for a second there, but sometimes like fishing ships show up as villagers, or villagers show up as obviously villagers wouldn't show up as fishing ships, but fishing ships can be added to the villager count if they go idle for a second. So maybe that was part of it. But yeah, up times. I guess what we're just seeing is Cool is not going to the feudal age yet because he wants to fish boom it up. I don't know if he's how well he's scouted the kind of layout of his island and whether he could see lots of fish off the shore or not. But he can kind of assume that with the layout of the land and knowing that island is there, that there's a big area of water here that he can fish boom in from the pocket. So we're going to see VNS Cool as Viking Pocket just going up a bit later, but then kind of slingshotting through with that fish boom, and then probably having a really strong game with Vikings. I'd say that VNS Yellow's decision to play Mongols just hasn't paid off for him, because he's reaching his feudal age click wasn't that early at all. In fact, it was quite late. I see he didn't really lure in his deer or anything like that. So. And with Mongols not really having any advantage on water besides the uptime, you kind of think that Huns may have been... Oh no, they chose Mongols instead of... Did they choose Mongols instead of Saracens? That seems... yeah, I don't think that's paid off for them at all, because obviously Saracens with faster firing galleys... probably the most powerful navy in the Imperial Age. So I think VNS Yellow's gamble there just hasn't paid off. Over here, ACCM seems to have a small advantage over Yannick. It seems to have be a galley ahead and picking off fishing ship. 2 fishing ships going down for Yannick actually, and all that time Yannick was firing at galleys and hasn't even managed to kill one. And he is now actually, ACCM is going to be supported by VNS Yellow, whilst Dark Devil remains in the Dark Age, continuing to fish boom. So Yannick is in a lot of trouble. He's adding docks trying to stay in the game, so to speak, but it almost feels like he's already lost the water. He's lost all his fishing ships. ACCM, being cheeky, is now fishing literally outside of his dock and has actually just finished off that fish that Yannick was fishing in the Dark Age. And Yannick's remaining galleys are just being chased across the map. So, not going too well over here for 13th Legion. Yeah, I think the 4-vil difference between the Viking players initially was down to the fact that the Viking player for VNS stayed in the Dark Age, fish booming for longer, whereas Yannick, because he was on the flank, definitely had to go up. But even so, I was looking at Yannick's villager numbers and thinking that even with the kind of potential mitigating factors that I was trying to come up with, yes, he is probably behind by a villager or so. So perhaps not the best Dark Age from Yannick, and that's maybe why he was a little bit behind ACCM. But given the fact that Yellow came in to support ACCM when Dark Devil has just been fish booming the whole game, Yannick was never going to win anyway, so in that sense it doesn't really matter. But having your Viking player pretty much losing the water at the start of feudal age, not completely kicked off it yet, but pretty much losing the water instantly is never great. See, Emin's just trying to slow down the fish boom of VNS Cool with a couple of galleys, but VNS Cool is about to be on 3 docks, and most of his fishing is elsewhere and as yet undiscovered by Emin, so Emin's not really making too much happen there. On the left hand side though, it looks kind of even between VNS Fish and Vodka. It seems like both players have probably still got all their fishing ships. Not sure where Vodka's 4th is. Actually no, he's on 6 because he's got 3 more back here. So with 6 versus... well, it's only 5 actually. I was going to say, I thought it was going to be 6 versus 4, which could have been a difference in terms of castle age up times. But yeah, it's just looking quite even with both players being unwilling to commit to a fight there. VNS Cool finally starting to make some galleys, but Emin is flooding more down here, and it seems like the Emin will be able to probably to win the initial engagement over here. The only thing being that his reinforcements are coming from so far away that he probably won't completely win the water against VNS Cool, even if he takes a good first fight. Meanwhile, Dark Devil, who did the absolutely almighty fish boom, is in danger of starting to lose those fish from... Sorry, those fish to VNS Yellow if VNS Yellow continues up here with this number of galleys. But in some senses, obviously you want to keep them alive, but in some senses they've served their purpose, because Dark Devil is on the way to the Castle Age, along with VNS Cool.
Yes.
So both teams have got one pocket player hitting the Castle Age at more or less the same time. But Vodka with his 6 fishing ships is the only kind of like non-pocket fish boomer player to have clicked the Castle Age at the moment. Let's see if he cut his military production in order to do that. Not really. I mean, he's only 2 galleys behind VNS Fish. So I think that's really decent flank play from Vodka there. He's getting up to Castle Age a lot quicker than any of the other players on the map besides the pocket fish boomers. Just seems like VNS Cool is having trouble in terms of military numbers, though. He's only got half as many galleys as Emin. Admittedly, a lot of Emins are streaming across the map, but it will take this war galley upgrade to kind of reverse that pressure that Emin is being able to apply. And VNS Cool did actually manage to save quite a lot of his fishing ships. I thought I saw a few going down, but he's managed to move most of them over here now. And I think with war galley production from these docks, he's going to be fine, and Emin is going to be turned away. You can see that VNS Fish did go up to the Castle Age, but he's going to be just over a minute behind Vodka, so we'll see if that makes a difference over here and whether Vodka is able to apply pressure on this left hand side and use that war galleys for an extra 1 minute when VNS Fish won't have them. Meanwhile, Yannick, somewhat surprisingly, has managed to kind of regain presence on the water. I don't know whether ACCM kind of didn't pressure him enough, but I was expecting to see more of these docks having been destroyed. I think possibly what happened was that VNS Yellow going over here to kind of attack the fish boom of Dark Devil just gave Yannick a bit of breathing room where he was more 1 versus 1. And that's really good for the... the 13th Legion, forgot which team's which then, because they obviously don't want your Viking player knocked out so early. But the thing is, Yannick lost his fishing ships instantly at the start of Feudal Age, and we can see that he's, I think, the last player to click Castle Age, having not done so yet. Actually no, VNS Yellow hasn't, but I think Yannick is just going to be really far behind. I'll check his food count to see if... Oh, he's just clicked along with ACCM. So I'm not really sure what happened to ACCM, because Japanese should have a really good eco, and they had, he kept his fishing ships, he didn't lose them, whereas Yannick lost them straight away, and in the end there's only a 6-second difference between Yannick and ACCM. So well done to Yannick, because it was looking really precarious to him, at the start of Feudal Age, but he's in a decent position against his immediate opponent now. He's pretty much neck and neck with ACCM, except for galley numbers. There's about a 7 difference. But with Vikings cheap ships, he can kind of potentially pull that back as long as he keeps docks alive. See, it looks on the left hand side, Vodka didn't force any kind of big engagement with his earlier castle time, so both players now up to war galley, +2 attack and range from Vodka and Arrow, and we're finally seeing these two players committing to an engagement for the first time in the game. They've both been very cagey and not really willing to commit, but both players now actually making that commitment, and it seems like VNS Fish... Oh no, those extra galleys are actually coming from Cool, whilst Emin is nowhere to be seen and isn't in the Castle Age yet. So I thought that VNS Fish kind of had the slight edge in numbers anyway, but with the reinforcements coming from the pocket, VNS Cool, there's just no way Vodka could hold that position. And Emin, still no War Galley, he's only just hit the Castle Age and getting Bodkin Arrow, and Vodka could be in danger of losing even his TC at this point, because this like island position was so unfortunate for him. Actually, it was a really horrible island to start off with. This TC is so vulnerable, so forward as well, and then berries literally in the sea. They're practically like sea berries. I don't know if that's a kind of like new species of plant for Age of Empires. Probably collecting seaweed instead of berries. I don't know. I see that Yannick's doing really okay here. Might even take down a dock before ACCM actually commits to anything with the Castle Age upgrade that he's got. But I think that Dark Devil has actually been really key in allowing Yannick to have breathing room as well. When I was talking about factors that might explain Yannick's kind of resurgence in this game, I hadn't really noticed what Dark Devil's army had been doing, but it may be that he kind of was also responsible in kind of just allowing Yannick to get back on his docks. It's kind of hard to focus on all the galley fights at once. See that VNS Cool and VNS Fish are still doing a good job of keeping both of their sets of galleys together, and somehow Yannick is even over here. That's just so surprising, but I guess they needed it because Vodka was in so much trouble because Emin was just behind, and for now the VNS guys are just retreating. So let's go back and have a look what Yannick's able to do over here. I think Yannick has come back quite nicely in this game. He still kind of feels a little bit behind some of the other players, but certainly he's doing at least as well, if not better, than his opponent on the flank in ACCM, because ACCM villager numbers, what the hell happened there? 29 villagers. Again, like, the spectator dashboard can play tricks on you with fishing ships counting as villagers sometimes, but still, I don't know how he's ended up so far behind, and he's got army on the field, but I just haven't seen him using it for quite a long time. Yeah, VNS Cool just shortly due to hit the Imperial Age, which means this fight will turn once more. I feel like this was more of a tactical retreat from Cool and Orion, or Cool and VNS Fish, because, you know, like, when Yannick came over to help, the numbers are roughly equal. I think they still could have won the fight if they chose to take it, but it was more of a tactical retreat. VNS Fish won't mind losing a dock or two because Cool is going to be coming back with chemistry and galleon and bracer and all of that very, very soon. His Castle Age, Imperial Age time has been really nice, 26 minutes something, and although I can't really quickly cycle through the perspective of every single player to see if anyone's due to go up to the Imperial Age soon, I wouldn't be surprised if VNS's Cool time far outstrips anyone except perhaps Dark Devil. But Dark Devil doesn't have that. Dark Devil is not going to be someone who races to the Imperial Age. You can see his fishing ship count is only 9, whereas the other he was doing pocket fish boom and he didn't keep the fishing ships alive, but VNS Cool is still on 20, and look, there's still tons of fish here. That could be really helpful to him in terms of maybe selling food for gold or something like that, or slinging it to his allies just to help them with their uptimes. Obviously, for him, now he's in the Imperial Age, the food himself won't be as useful, but we can see that probably Yellow raiding the pocket fish is what meant that Cool kept so much more fishing ships alive, so many more alive. But over here, ACCM seems kind of alone, but still managing to take an okay fight. Oh no, here we are, Yellow is helping him out, and that's why the 13th Legion is forced to retreat. Over here, VNS Cool, with all those Imperial Age upgrades, the only thing he's missing now by the looks of it is probably careening, but he's doing that, so those galleons are going to be fully upgraded and able to just easily win fights over here with just a little bit of support from VNS Fish. Of course, VNS Fish lost a couple of docks here, but it just doesn't matter when you've got all these galleons with all the upgrades. He doesn't have to have as many galleys as Emin to be effective and allows the VNS to take that fight, because the galleons are just so overpowered once they've got all the upgrades compared to Castle Age galleons, war galleys even. Did they sling cool? I don't know. I have to kind of go into the achievements to check that, I think. But unless I can cycle it like this. No, they didn't really sling from cool. I think someone sent him 100 word for some reason. But like I was saying, it's just that 20 fish on the left hand side. You can see how dense the fish was here has now been all fished out. He kept his like massive fish boom alive much better than Dark Devil. VNS yellow's raiding into the fish over here. Grey raiding over here at the kind of like feudal age or early castle ages was what decided the int time so significantly. And we can see that, as I was pointing out a little while ago, Vodka is just losing his base now. They haven't. Yeah, they're finally focusing down the TC. And Vodka could end up losing lots because, you know, these wood lines and everything are quite precarious. Fortunately for him, his main gold is in the middle of the island, or the remaining main gold that he has. But that's not the most defensible island I've ever seen, to be honest. I mean, it's like T-shaped because you got all this narrow spit with nothing useful, and then it's like the cross of a T as well, so it's quite narrow. And Vodka could be in a lot of trouble. And VNS Cool, of course, not only was he up to the Imperial Age first, but he's Vikings. He's pocket Vikings with a massive technological advantage over everybody. So cheap ships and better ships than everybody else on the map at the moment. And I think he's just going to be going to different parts of the map, helping out his teammates and just winning fights all over the place, making the difference. The kind of main place that he probably has to support is over here, where Yannick and Dark Devil, they've got decent numbers, but I'm trying to see where ACCM's army is. He's gone down to 15. He's over here actually, and yellow. So it's like a bit of a kind of, obviously not base trade situation, but almost like perhaps dock trade situation where Yannick and Dark Devil get on the docks of yellow and ACCM and vice versa. But I think Cool is just going to move across the map now, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. He's already kind of just half destroyed the economy of Vodka, and Vodka's also only gone down to two docks, but only one he can safely produce from at the moment, so his production is just non-existent. And this force from Cool is so strong that he can just go and sit on top of Emin's docks and just waste all of Emin's docks now, and perhaps take down another TC if he feels like. So Cool is just moving across the map like the Grim Reaper, just leaving a trail of death and destruction in his wake. And although it's a decent sized name from Emin, he's still a long way from the Imperial Age, and he could find himself without any docks left by the time by the time it actually becomes feasible for him to think about engaging this fully upgraded army for Cool. And as I was saying, Cool can just help his teammates win fights in all parts of the map now. You see that he sent some galleons over to Dark Devil. And that just means that even though ACCA doesn't have any galleys over here, like, they can just take a decent fight against Dark Devil anyway, right on his home base. And Cool's even fighting Yannick down here. Like, Cool is just carrying this game so much for VNS. I'm not saying that the other players aren't playing well as well, but we can see that every single player on the other player in the game is 4,000 something score, and then VNS Cool without slings 7,000 plus, and that just shows you the power of a Viking player in the pocket getting a massive, virtually uninterrupted fish boom. It's just absolutely dominating this game. So Emin just about to hit the Imperial Age, but he's still going to need a couple of minutes to get Galleon and Bracer chemistry in order to think about fighting a VNS Cool. Meanwhile, Cool is just trying to find ways to pretty much wipe all of the 13th Legion players off the map, in combination with just some support from his teammates, but not massive amounts. You have to say, it feels like army numbers for Yellow and ACCM are just so small. You can see there they've got 13 and 20, whereas every player for 13th Legion is on kind of 40 plus ships. But it just doesn't matter. Like, Cool is just carrying so hard. And even though, like, the military numbers for ACCM in particular are kind of low, well, ACCM and yellow are kind of low, but I'm just going to say ACCM in particular is carrying out some kind of effective raiding. Doesn't have many galleys, but I've just seen him popping up in different spots and just combining with Cool, just like bringing just 10 extra galleys here or there just to help. But he's only got 10 galleys and he's got to lose them all here now. He does need to regain some kind of presence on the water if he can. Emin now does actually have all those upgrades apart from chemistry. He isn't researching it at the moment. Hopefully for his sake he doesn't actually forget that. But I think he can start to think about getting rid of Cool off from his coastline finally, because Cool's been sitting there causing havoc for so long, but although he has 90 ships now, he doesn't have enough ships in one place to deal with Emin's entire army, because he's starting to spread himself across the entire map, which is a really effective strategy. I mean, you look at, for example, Yannick's island, he's lost 2 wood lines, means he's only got 3 over here, which are going to start to become vulnerable to the water, especially this one, eventually. But I just think that VNS have to be a bit careful. They did enjoy a great advantage in this game for so long, but like ACCM and yellow in terms of their actual water presence it's been very minimal for the last sort of 10 game minutes, and although Cool was really carrying, it's getting to the point now where 13th Legion actually outnumber them in galley count, and all 13th Legion players are actually in the Imperial Age now, whilst yellow is still stuck in the Castle Age, and that it's like 200 galleons versus pretty much 200, but like Cool's huge number of ships that he had, because he's been sitting at 80, 90, 100 for a little while, that isn't such a lead over all the other players, because it was the case that Cool had like 90 galleys when every other player had 40, and he could just like split his army up all he liked and just win fights anywhere. But that's not the case anymore. 13th Legion players are starting to have very big navies, all of them that applies to, and that just doesn't apply to yellow and to a lesser extent ACCM. Their military presence is just lessened, and VNS just need to be careful that they don't throw away the advantage. You see the score gap has closed a lot as well, and that's due to the fact that the 13th Legion players are starting to mass up and take good fights again. Yannick even converting a ship, which, wow, that is quite impressive. The VNS Cool, well, he doesn't have 100 ships anymore, he actually has only 60, which is an astonishing turnaround, but VNS Cool is all over the map with galleys in different places, and he was able to delete a war galleon that was being converted by Yannick. That's incredible, like macro, micro combination there. But now that those good fights have been taken by the 13th Legion, Cool doesn't even have the most ships in the game anymore, and he's only got this one big army pretty much here and some kind of like streaming from elsewhere, and Cool is just the same as any other player in the game really now. Obviously he retains the advantage of like Vikings cheap ships or whatever, but he's not in that like domineering mood anymore. Can't just roam around the map just winning it. He's just one of many players. Although this is effective. Look at this. Taken this island from right under Emin's nose with the extra resources, and VNS also have access to this extra island as well, so that is important in terms of map control. See that ACCM and yellow is finally starting to recover numbers, getting 40-50 galleys, and it looks like galley count between the two teams are roughly even again. And it's just kind of hard to kind of zoom in on all of the small engagements, because instead of massive engagements we're seeing like 20 galleys fighting 20 in different parts of the map, and it's just really hard to kind of keep tabs on who's gaining the best trades from these fights, because without just kind of looking at the military numbers toing and froing, and it feels like VNS is starting to have more military on the map as well, but just again, where is that military actually being deployed to, and is it being used effectively? See a lot of it is just sitting in the middle of the map at the moment, and at the back. I wonder if Emin, how aware Emin is of this, all of this stuff sitting in front of his base. Yeah, he knows. He knows. But there's little that he can do about it at the moment. Almost feels like the two teams were just pausing for breath then, because there wasn't much engagement going on apart from this kind of south side. This looks like a good fight for ACCM and yellow, because they've got that kind of nice concave formation there, whereas the red and blue galleons are just trapped in this channel, not able to take up a good firing line. So it looks kind of, let me just look at the numbers as well, 30, 40, so 70ish. Yeah, ACCM and yellow have recovered remarkably to about 110 galleons, playing off against something like 75 for red and blue. So it feels like this flank is once more going in favour of ACCM and yellow. Meanwhile, what's cool up to, just massing up in the middle. VNS Fish just pausing to mass over here and taking control of another small third island that I hadn't actually kind of noticed that there was more gold on here. Yeah, this map is islands. I didn't actually check the name of it, see if it was a kind of slightly altered version of it or anything. I just saw it and thought, yeah, this looks like islands. But it's the standard islands that comes with the game. It's not like SY islands or anything like that. Kind of hard to see who actually has the numbers advantage in this fight, because those galleys are just so nicely patrolled on top of each other by Emin. But starting to feel like Cool is just about winning that fight, and Emin's numbers are kind of half of what Cool's are at the moment. And I think ultimately, even if VNS did lose some kind of momentum, this is what's going to count. By this point, like wood on starting islands for some players might be running low. See, Cool had quite a nice island. Yes. But for example, Yannick, yeah, it's kind of not running out yet, but certainly it's getting to the point where all the wood lines are at the edge of the islands and harassable. Whereas VNS have just secured all the extra resources on the map, even adding in guard towers to just do some extra bonus damage against ships and maybe ward away any kind of villagers from landing, I don't know. But yeah, 3 extra islands under the control of VNS, extra gold and wood, and that eventually could prove the difference if 13th Legion aren't able to force the issue soon. But importantly, just look at Yannick's population. He's the Viking player, so one of the strongest players for civilizations for the 13th Legion, and he has just been depopulated down to 5 military, lost all of his docks, and as I said, like just a few minutes ago we were looking at 100 plus galleons between yellow and VNS yellow, and ACCM on only 70 or so for red and blue, and they were both trapped in this channel and not able to take a fight, and the end result of that is that Yannick has lost all of his docks, lost all of his galleons, and yellow even landing now, which Yannick has to react to and try and power build castles quickly. Just going to have a look what's over here. It looks like Cool is finally moving in against Emin and adding siege rams, which will tank some fire. Who's going to get the castle up? Obviously Yannick got a lot more villages on that, but his villages are getting shot at and ACCM's aren't, but still his castle will go up first. The thing is, like, even though that castle goes up first, I don't know if that actually makes the difference, because you know, he's probably not going to micro all these villages to stop the castle from going up. The capped rams proving to be quite flimsy against this number of galleons, but is he going to do it? There's 700 HP left on the castle and down to 3 villages. Castle's denied. Castle must be denied as long as that castle continues to shoot the right targets. Yet castle denied for now on something like 4,300 HP, which just buys Yannick a bit of time, but the fact is it's now something like 230 odd galleons, 230, 240 galleons for VNS versus like 150, something like that for 13th Legion, because 13th Legion just got pushed, Yannick got pushed off the water. I'd say that was just a really well played game by VNS. There was a moment where they seemed to just stumble a little bit when ACCM and Yellow's military numbers went down, but I would say the key thing in that game was simply that VNS Cool had the most insane fish boom as Pocket Vikings over on the left hand side over here. Dark Devil tried to replicate his strategy as Saracens, but early in kind of either late feud or early Castle Age, but like early in game context, VNS Yellow came over here with kind of 10 galleys, and he just harassed that fish boom of Dark Devil, whereas VNS Cool did suffer from harassment from Emin coming to to try and disrupt his fish boom. But when we looked a little while later, VNS Cool had 20 fishing ships to Dark Devil's 9, and the fish over here were the best on the map. And that meant that VNS Cool's Imperial Age time was just so much ahead of everybody on the map. And that, in combination with the Viking ship bonus, meant he was able to just make the most powerful and largest army on the map and just win decisive fights everywhere in early Imperial Age before any of the players on the other team were even close to reaching Imperial. And Cool just carried that so hard, whilst Yellow and ACCM just kind of got their numbers back together, and then finally outnumbered Yannick and Dark Devil over here. Took a decisive fight with better positioning, destroyed Yannick's production, and basically knocked him out of the game. And at that point, it's 3v4 and GG and 1-1. Yeah, the stats of the game in terms of like food collected don't really show you how critical that the VNS Cool's fish boom was, but certainly look at the kills that he had on largest army. It's absolutely enormous. Obviously VNS did the other thing that VNS did was just take control of the map fantastically with the extra resources.